Vine was walking through the heavy rain. Burdened by sorrow, she sought comfort in tears. The rain tried its best to wash away her tears, but they kept cascading down like a waterfall. Her eyes were burning. Her head was aching. Her body was numb with pain, but it was nothing compared to the ache of shattered dreams and broken heart. She trudged aimlessly on the deserted road, the weight of her betrayal heavy on her heart. The sight of her husband being skin to skin with another woman on their bed was replaying in her mind on loop, blinding her vision with more tears. I'm sorry, Ryan, but I followed out of love. I don't love you anymore. I love Alicia. How easy was it for him to say those words? How shameless he was to embrace the other woman in front of her without an ounce of guilt. How easy it was for him to cheat. How easy was it for him to fall out of love, as if it was some kind of game that he got bored of. Being lost in the world of agony, she unconsciously walked over to the bustling road. The deafening horns of the automobiles, the calls of strangers faded away in the background. Her misery had her undivided attention. From getting proposed by him, dating him, getting engaged, entering into matrimony, carrying his child to getting betrayed by him, the images flashed before her eyes. Every memory was fresh in her brain. Child, as this thought struck her head, the surroundings slowly started becoming alive. The background noise reached her ears. A gush of cold wind brushed past her damp body, bringing her back to reality. She hastily looked around and got scared, finding herself in the middle of the road. Her heartbeat accelerated as negative thoughts filled her head. She stepped forward, trying to reach the roadside, but flinched when a car rushed past her. She swallowed and turned around in order to go to the other side. In her attempts of escaping from the road, she did notice a car speeding towards her. She froze when bright lights fell on her, blinding her sight. Her shivering hands reached out to her 5 months old baby bump, wrapping around it protectively. Her whole life flashed before her eyes. This was it. She was going to die, and along with her die her unborn child. Her gaze fixated on the approaching car. Her feet were stuck on their spot as if they were glued to the concrete path beneath. She wanted to scream for help, but no sound was coming, as if her vocal cords had given up. The car reached nearer, the lights becoming more brighter. As she thought she was about to get hit, the car stopped with a screech, few inches away from her. Her body trembled with both fear and cold. Black dots appeared behind her eyes. Her vision blurred, and her body felt extremely heavy for her feet to stand on. She felt the surroundings slowly turning dark. Her head spun, exhaustion slowly overtaking her body. Her body swayed as her eyelids felt too heavy to keep open. She stumbled backward, but before she could fall down on the ground, two strong arms supported her. The last thing she heard her name being called out before she slipped into unconsciousness. Vaya slowly opened her eyes and looked around. Fear crept inside her, realizing that she was in an unfamiliar bedroom. Her hands instinctively moved to her baby bump. A relieved sigh escaped her lips as she rubbed her bloated belly. With great difficulty, she got off the bed, negative thoughts plaguing her mind. Where am I? She murmured, recalling the series of life turning events happened in her life. The last thing she remembered was passing out on the road. My clothes, her eyes wider, realizing that her clothes were changed. She wore a hoodie which reached up to her mid thighs and shorts which were long enough to cover her legs still below her knees. A lone tear rolled down her cheek. The ache of her husband's infidelity was already draining her strength, and now the fear of something even worse befalling her was making her weak in the knees. Additionally, her pregnancy hormones only worsened the situation. Her gaze averted to the door, which clicked open, and a tall, muscular man walked inside. Vian's eyes locked with his, and it didn't take her a moment in recognizing him. Are you okay? Is it paining somewhere? he asked. His forehead had crease of concern, his gaze softer than ever. Jungkook, you here? She stammered, overwhelmed with pain, fear, and anxieties. He observed her anxious state, tears rolling her eyes, her hands tightly clutching the hem of the hoodie. Understanding her melancholic situation, he decided to clarify everything. You fainted in front of my car. I didn't know your address, that's why I brought you at my apartment. The doctor, she changed your clothes. Quickly added as she saw her hugging herself. She visibly relaxed. However, the relaxation didn't last longer as the pain took over her heart. Here, call Joe and tell him you are here. I'll bring something for you to eat. Jungkook extended his mobile phone towards her. His name worked as salt on her burning wounds. She broke into loud sobs, ducking down on her knees. Jungkook's eyes widened at a sudden breakdown and he rushed to hold her. Vian, he softly called out, supporting her by her shoulder. She let her limp body fall on his chest, crying hysterically. Jungkook rubbed her back in soothing manner, not knowing what to say to comfort her. What happened, Vian? You are making me worried, he asked, but she kept crying on his chest. An hour passed with her weeping, cocooned in his arms, and him providing her the much needed support. Her loud cries had died down to soft snaps as she slowly parted away from his embrace. She wiped her face with the sleeves of Hardy. Come on, get up. He helped her in standing up and escorted her towards the bed. He made her sit on the bed and poured her a glass of water. She took a few sips before placing the glass back on the nightstand. Jungkook sat beside her. Will you tell me what happened? Only if you are comfortable to share. He asked gently, not wanting to make her uncomfortable in any way. Joy, he cheated on me. He said he fell out of love. He said he doesn't love me anymore. He loves that girl. He didn't even think about our baby. She started crying again. Jungkook's jaw clenched as Reese filled inside him. He put her head to his chest, letting her cry in his embrace. One arm around her shoulder and other hand stroked her head. I did everything for him. I left everyone just to be with him. And what I get in return? A betrayal. A freaking betrayal. She grabbed a handful of his shirt, seeking solace in his arms. Shush, don't cry. Don't waste your tears on him, he whispered. His fingertips massaged her scalp. His voice was calm and gentle, contrary to the blazing rays mounting inside him. Only he knew how he controlled himself from going to that cheat and made him pay for every tear she shed. She cried and cried until her glands gave up from producing more tears. Her eyes started burning. Her head throbbed due to all the crying she did. Jungkook broke the hug and looked at her pale face. Cradling her face between his hands, he gently wiped her tears with his thumb. Rest here. I'll bring food for you. Saying so, he tucked her on the bed. Wyan silently lay down, too tired to say or do anything. After making her comfortable on the bed, he exited the room. Jungkook came back carrying a tray having freshly cooked soup. He noticed Wyan staring blankly at the ceiling, though her eyes gave up to shed more tears, but he knew her heart was still crying. The pain of heartbreak is unbearable, and it kills a person from inside. It's not the bad memories that hurt, it's the good ones that sting more. The promises, the dreams, and the expectations are the ones that hurt more. Wine, eat something. He spoke as he settled beside her on the bed. She averted her gaze from the ceiling to him and shook her head. I'm not hungry. Jungkook sighed, already expecting it coming. The doctor said you are weak. You should take proper meals. And she also said whatever you do directly affects the baby. Do you want your baby to starve? She shook her head at his question. Come on then eat for the little one. He helped her in sitting up. This time she didn't resist and sat upright. He placed a pillow behind her back as she leaned against the headrest. forwarded a spoonful of vegetable soup in front of her mouth. She gulped it down without any protest. He fed her half of the soup and she ate silently. No, please, no more, she mumbled. He didn't force her either and placed the soup bowl on the nightstand. I should leave. I'm sorry for troubling you. Thanks for taking care of me. Jungkook's movement halted. He lifted his gaze to her face, staring blankly. Where will you go? He asked after a brief pause, and he regretted the next second for asking it, observing her face contorting with grief. I mean, where will go at this time? Stay here for tonight. We will talk about this in morning. He avoided her eyes and abruptly got up from the bed to leave, but Wyan held his wrist, stopping him. His teeth sank in the cushion of his bottom lip as he slowly turned around and his eyes locked with her glossy ones. Why? Why are you doing this? Aren't you supposed to hate me? Your kindness is making me despise myself even more. She tugged at his wrist, guiding him to sit at his previous place. Aren't you my best friend? And it's my responsibility. No, it's my right to stand beside you in your thick and thin. I'm not being kind one. I'm doing what a best friend's supposed to do, he explained with a small smile. Are we? Are we really best friend after what I did with you? Do I deserve this? Do you deserve a selfish person to be called as your best friend? Did you forget how I chose him over you? Did you forget that how I didn't trust you when you warned me that he isn't a good person? Do you not remember how I chose some months' relationship over our years of friendship? Maybe you forgot, but I didn't. And I know I don't deserve. She halted when Jungkook chuckled. You are still the same chatterbox Ryan, talking non-stop without a break. He smiled, pinching her nose. She looked at him with disbelief and shock. He shook his head, chuckling in amusement. Yes, I remember. I remember you are my best friend. Yes, you make some silly mistakes sometimes, but that doesn't mean I would start hating you. You are still my best friend. Our friendship is far beyond these things, Ryan. I promise to stay by your side forever, and I'll keep it forever. Now, don't tie your little brain and sleep. Maybe you don't, but the little one needs rest, he said, helping her to lay down on the bed. Ryan stared at his face, thanking the universe to send someone like him in her life. Can you please stay until I fall asleep? She asked with utter hesitation. Concealed his hurt behind a fake smile and sat beside her. Now what? Sleep or you want me to sing a lullaby for you? He said playfully when she kept staring at him. A small smile curved on her lips as she closed her eyes. His hands reached out to kiss her head. She hummed in ecstasy and in no time she fell asleep. Jungkook peered at her face, a sad smile adorning his face. It hurts. It actually hurts to be pushed away by someone you cared the most. I won't lie, but it hurted me when you chose that over me, Ryan. I decided I won't ever come across you, ever. And see, the destiny made us cross paths again. All the hurt, the pain washed away the second I saw your face. How can I hate someone I care about the most, I love the most? Mumbled and bent down to plant a kiss on her forehead. Last time I backed off because you loved him. I was happy seeing you happy, even though your happiness lay with someone else. But not this time. I'll make him pay for whatever he did with you. This time, I'll fight for my love. I'll show you how you deserve to be loved. With a renewed energy and resolution, he rose from the bed and walked out of the room. Morning, sleepyhead. Jungkook chirped when he saw Wine walking inside the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. She scrunched her nose as the smell of pancakes hit her nostrils. What is this smell? It's making me nauseous, she said as she pressed her hand on her nose to avoid the smell. Jacob frowned in confusion, which soon disappeared when his eyes traveled to her visible baby bump. This wasn't her, but her pregnancy hormones speaking. Have you taken a bath? He asked to be She shook her head. Good. Go and take a shower. I'll prepare something else for you. He turned off the stove and proceeded to cover the pancakes and place those away. I don't have clothes here. She fidgeted with her fingers. Her head hung low. You have. Check your closet. I arranged some clothes for you, comfortable and appropriate for pregnant women. Now go and wash up. Vine blinked her eyes in astonishment. Go, Vine, he stated strictly, taking out the ingredients to make sandwich for her. She nodded and went back to the room to get ready for the day. He glanced at her retreating back and smiled to himself before focusing back on preparing breakfast. Will you be fine with sandwich or should I make something else? He said as he placed a plate of sandwich in front of Vine before sitting down on the chair beside her. No, it's fine, thank you. Jungkook let out a sigh, dismayed by her formal responses, but he chose to stay silent and had his breakfast. The breakfast was awkward, as an uncomfortable silence settled between them. Jungkook occasionally glanced at Vine, who silently ate her breakfast. There was a lot of question in his mind, and he wanted to ask her, but he was uncertain of how she would react. Thanks for the breakfast. I should leave now, she mumbled after finishing her breakfast and rose from the chair. Jungkook, who was collecting the dirty dishes, snapped his head towards her. Leave where? And what is up with you thanking me for every other thing? He remarked. His voice came out a little rough as he didn't try to hide his disappointment this time. Where will you go, Ryan? He stood in front of her, peering at her face directly whilst she ducked her head down, avoiding eye contact with him. I don't know, but I don't want to trouble you. I don't deserve. Shut up. She flinched when he snapped at her. He was really disappointed with how she was behaving. Besides, when he heard her sniffing, he stepped forward and gently held her shoulders. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped at you, but you were being stubborn, Ryan. Stop being so formal and stop saying you don't deserve it. You deserve every happiness of the world. And if you're thinking I will let you leave from here, especially in this condition, then you are wrong. You'll stay here with me. I'll take care of you. He said as he gently wiped her tears. Her teary gaze met his. But okay, you want to leave? Tell me where you want to go. I'll drop you there. Come, let's go. He held her wrist and tugged at it, but she remained glued to her spot. Come on, let's go. She slowly shook her head as a sob escaped her lips. He didn't want to make her cry, but her stubbornness was annoying him. He still remembered the day he rescued her from her abusive parents during high school days. He remembered how broken and weak she was. It took her years to come out of the trauma and enjoy her life. Jungkook was with her at every step, but then Joe came in between and created disputes between them. Jungkook loved Wyan, but Wyan loved Joe, or for her happiness, he sacrificed his love. But seeing her in the same condition after years, he felt anger bubbling up inside him. I I don't want to trouble you. She cried out the same thing. Jungkook let out a deep exhale and made her sit on her previous place. He knelt down before her and held her hands. You are not troubling me. Whatever you are thinking, get it out of your head. Just know one thing. Your cook is with you, and he'll always be with you. I won't let you alone ever, especially when you need someone by your side. He gave a gentle squeeze to her hands and smiled at her reassuringly. Guilt rushed through her veins hearing him. He was always there for her, living up to their friendship. But she trusted someone else over him and broke their friendship. Even after all of this, he was sitting in front of her, giving assurance. It was making her more guilty than she already was. You'll stay with me. I don't trust you're clumsy with the little one, he playfully remarked, trying to lighten the ambience. She made a disapproving sound and smacked his shoulder. And here comes a violent whine. He shook his head helplessly, feigning sadness, whilst Wyan laughed at his buffoonish antics. Seeing her laughing heartily, a smile curved on his lips. He still had a teamed question in his mind. He wanted to ask what she would be doing about her relationship with Joe, but he held himself back. That was not the right time, especially when she was vulnerable both physically and emotionally. Jungkook, what are you doing? Wyan asked, her eyes widening in shock when Jungkook sat on the floor near her and held her feet. Your feet are paining. I'm massaging them, he replied, stealing a quick glance of her stunned state before softly pressing her feet. No, I'm fine. She tried to retreat her feet, but he gripped them firmly and darted a stern look at her. Don't act like you weren't wincing while walking. Sit silently and let me massage your feet. He gave a tight lipped smile and concentrated back on his task. Ryan sat there looking at him with admiring gaze. His warm touch soothed her sore muscles. In the last 1 month, he had tried his best to keep her happy in every possible way. He was there whenever she had a breakdown. He stayed awake whole night because she couldn't sleep. He cooked for her in the middle of the night. He accompanied her on her regular checkups. Basically, he had fulfilled every responsibility that her husband should. The so called husband who didn't even care to find out about the mother of his child. Talking of her husband, that was a topic which left undiscussed. Not even once, Jungkook brought forward the topic of Joe. He knew it was sensitive for Wine. Cook. Wine called out. He hummed in response. His attention was on massaging her feet. I want to file for divorce. Jungkook's hands halted and he slowly lifted his gaze to her eyes. Okay, do you want to file for adultery against him? Wayan's heart filled with admiration for him. He didn't raise a single question against her decision, instead, respected whatever she wanted. No, I want to give it a closure. I don't have the strength to go through the court procedure. I just don't want to stand in the palisade and answer the advocate's typical question. It will ruin my mental health, she explained, forgetting with her fingers. Jungkook nodded in understanding. But Wyan, what about the baby? He asked hesitantly. Wyan placed her hands on a 6 months old baby bump and rubbed it gently. It is my baby. Just because it carries his DNA doesn't make him a father. He has no right on my baby, she stated firmly. A different kind of determination arose in her veins. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything, he reassured with a smile. Who wants to eat chocolate cake? He asked after a brief pause, noticing the sight of her fallen face. Wyan's eyes lit up, hearing him. She involuntarily licked her lips and pointed at herself, then at the baby bump. Baby and I both want to eat it. Just as she finished her sentence, she felt the baby's kick. Here goes the approval. Now go and make it quick. He chuckled and made his way towards the kitchen to satiate her cravings. Wyan sat on the bed, staring at the bustling city through the big glass window in her room. She and Jungkook had just returned from the court. She was officially divorced now. Joe didn't make any attempt to stop the divorce, nor he justified his act. Instead, he was relaxed, as if he had done nothing wrong. Hell, he didn't even ask about the baby. It didn't hurt Wyan anymore. Instead, it filled her with rage. She felt angry on herself more than him. Was she blind all those 2 years to notice what kind of jerk he actually was? Was she nothing but a fool to love him unconditionally? She bowed her fist in anger. Wyan. Startled, she looked up and found Jungkook standing at the doorstep, his forehead creased with the lines of concern. He observed her from head to toe and walked over to her. Are you okay? Sitting down, he asked. She let out a weary sigh and nodded. "Oh, Wyan, I have to leave for office. It's an emergency, otherwise I wouldn't have left." Wyan sensed his worry behind his words and smiled at him. Go, work is important, and don't worry about me, I'll be fine. I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about my little one. Will you be fine with your clumsy mama? He leaned down to her baby bump and put his ear on it. Vine whimpered when the baby kicked. He or she was surely fond of Jungkook. The baby said he or she will be fine. Mama is a very responsible mother. Now shoo shoo. She pushed him away from her. He chuckled and teasingly pinched her rosy chubby cheeks. She winced and glared at him. Are you sure you will be fine? Yes, now go. Your office needs you. He leaned forward and placed a kiss on her forehead. She closed her eyes, savoring the moment. She needed it. She needed the reassurance that he was with her. She needed the strength to grapple with the self doubts and inner conflicts. I'll be back in an hour. Please take care of yourself for me, he whispered, cupping her face. Wyan stared at his eyes, trying to discern the emotions hidden in the deep oceans. His eyes, they were beautiful and captivating. It made her wanna lost in them and never found again. They spoke volumes, even those unspoken words which stayed buried deep inside his heart. Bye. Tore his gaze away from her and hastily left the room. Vine blinked her eyes, confused by his sudden change in demeanor. What are you hiding, Jungkook? She mumbled to herself. Jungkook breathed out, leaning his back against the door of her room. Wish there comes a day when I'll be able to tell you what I am hiding from you, and I hope you will understand my feelings. A new hope brightened inside him, giving up a new life to his feelings. With a hopeful smile, he left for his office. Have you seen her? He showed Vian's picture to a stranger who shook her head in response and went away. He groaned and yanked at his hair. I shouldn't have left her. Why did I leave? I am stupid. He punched in the air. Sweat beads trailed down his face. His heart thumped inside his chest as negative thoughts crept in his head. When he returned from his office, Wine wasn't home. He checked the whole apartment, and now he was searching outside the apartment building like a madman. He was barely containing himself from losing his sanity. She will be fine. She will. I'll find her. She won't leave me. I won't let her go. Not this time. Assuring himself, he straightened up and moved forward, searching for her, internally praying for her and baby's safety. Where are you, Wyan? His low sob escaped his lips. He had been searching for her since last 1 hour and she was nowhere to be found. At that moment, he resembled a heartbroken lover. Eyes bloodshot, tear-striking face, wobbly lips. He looked like a thirsty man lost in the desert, desperately looking for a drop of water, as if his life depends on it. Excuse me, have you seen this girl? He gulped, showing the picture to an old grandma. She looked at him with pity and keenly observed the picture. Is she pregnant? The grandma asked, and he instantly nodded. A hope arose within. I think I saw a pregnant woman near the lake. She pointed towards the lake. Jungkook thanked her and didn't take a moment before running in the direction where she pointed. He sighed in relief when he got the sight of Vine sitting on the bench staring at the lake. He wiped his face and strode towards her. Falling down on his knees before her, he embraced her, startling her out of her thoughts. Despite his futile attempts of holding his tears, few rolled down his cheek and fell on her shoulder. Cook, are you crying? She asked, concerned, embracing his trembling figure. No, I'm dancing here. I'm very happy that you went missing. Oh my goodness, this much happiness. I'm afraid I. He choked on his words and nestled his face in the curve of her neck. I'm sorry, I lost the track of time. She apologized as guilt rushed through her veins for making him worried. He moved back and looked at her with tear-stained face. I was on the verge of losing my woman. You know how madly I was searching for you? People were giving me looks. I have a bloody reputation in public and I was running like a lost child searching for his mother. Don't laugh! He snapped a little when Vine giggled. She immediately pressed her lips to stifle her laughter and wiped his face. I am really sorry. He glared at her and yanked her hands away. Keep your sorry to yourself. I don't need it. Let me talk to my little one. He leaned down to her baby bump and placed his forehead on it. You okay, little one? This mad woman didn't starve you, right? Do you know what your mother did? She left home without informing me and didn't even take a phone. You know, I was so worried. I thought I wouldn't find her, but you did. She cut him off in between. He lifted his face and his eyes met hers. You always did. Whenever I needed you, I had found you beside me always. You understood me without me explaining anything, but I. She paused. Tears rolled in her eyes as she cradled his face between her hands. I never acknowledged what you feel. You made me your priority, but I didn't. You always loved me, but I didn't. She burst into loud sobs. Jungkook's eyes widened, hearing her. How you. He trailed off, too shocked to say anything. Wine pulled out a diary from behind, his personal diary which had hidden his feelings for years. I was searching for a book in your study and found this. I am sorry. I don't want to read it, but then I saw my pictures in it and I couldn't stop myself. I'm glad I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known how much of a selfish person I am. Jungkook shook his head at a remark. His own tears betrayed him, a roll down his cheek. You are not selfish. You didn't know about my feelings because I never told you. This is the problem, Cook. I should have known. You knew everything about me, but I didn't. Your care, your friendship, your love was selfless, while me, I was just selfish. Why didn't I never notice? Just why? Why? She groaned and pulled her hair in frustration. Hey, have you gone mad? He held her wrist, freeing her hair from her tight clutch. Get a hold on your emotions. Stop blaming yourself. It's not wrong to prioritize ourselves. You love Joe, and it's not wrong to love someone. You didn't know about my feelings. End of discussion, he stated firmly. The reality is, you are here with me. I'm happy with this. You don't deserve this, Jungkook. You deserve someone who would love you unconditionally. Someone who would care for you selflessly. Someone who would know how you feel without you voicing out anything. Someone who is exclusively made for Jungkook. Though it hurted her to say those words, but she didn't want to be selfish and burden him with her issues. Then be that someone, he answered almost immediately. She shook her head and looked away. I'm not the right one for you. I'm too broken for you. Also, I'm going to be a mother. She nibbled her lower lip to stop herself from sobbing out loud. Let me heal you then. Let me hold you. Forget everything and trust me. I don't care about anything but you and our little one. If you will be a mother, I'll happily be the father. The little one also likes me, isn't it, my baby? He whispered against her baby bump and chuckled, feeling a kick. You said you were selfish because you didn't know about my feelings back then. But now you know. You know how much I love you. Won't it be selfish leaving me saying I deserve better? Won't it be selfish separating a father from his child? I can proudly say I love the baby more than you do, and I dare anyone to fight me over it. When I don't need better, I just want you. I only love you. Placed a kiss on the back of her each hand. I am here to heal your broken heart. Please give us a chance. I promise you will not regret it ever in your life. He asked hopefully, but his hope shattered when she retrieved her hands from his grip and pushed herself off the bench. His heart broke, and he heard its crunch sound of breaking. He stood along with her and looked at her with a sad smile. I understand. His words left unsaid when Wine walked past him near to the lake. He turned around, his gaze fixated on her. He watched as she removed her wedding ring and threw it in the lake. Turning back, she smiled at him and spread her arms. Come here, lover boy. He didn't take another second before running towards her and engulfed in a passionate hug. He snuggled into her warmth. More tears streamed down his face. I promise I will give you all the happiness you deserve. You will not ever regret loving me. With these promises, I seal the deal of forever with John Jungkook, the big crybaby. Chuckled and moved back to place a kiss on her forehead. You know, you don't have to throw the ring in the lake. We could have sold it and earned some money, he suggested. Wine rolled her eyes and flicked his nose. You can't be serious for a second, can you? He grinned and shook his head. They felt some movements against their abdomen and realized that the baby was kicking continuously. The baby is jumping because of hunger. He or she wants ice cream. She innocently blinked her eyes. Jungkook crooked his eyebrows. Really? Baby wants ice cream or baby is always hungry, mama? He squinted his eyes at her while she grinned, showing her teeth. Come on, baby's papa. Be a responsible father and buy me ice cream. She poked his cheek. His heart bloomed with happiness when she called him baby's father. Let's go, my babies. He beamed with joy. Intertwining Vian's hand with his, he guided her towards home. About Joe, why do you think Jungkook went to his office suddenly? Well, the business tycoon John Jungkook was as cruel to Joe as kind and lovely he was to Wine. He played a fair game by influencing the board members of Joe's company and bought all the shares. Till the next morning, Joe's company would be bankrupt and he would be on road, begging for a single penny. Jungkook gets Wine. Wine gets Jungkook. Wine's baby gets a father. Joe gets his karma. Now, that's what we call a